Hello and welcome to Break the Silence, which is brought to you by Aid to the Church in Need, the charity for persecuted and other suffering Christians. Let me introduce to you our special guest today, Archbishop Linus Neli, the Archbishop of Imphal in Manipur state in northeast India. We've had Archbishop Linus on the show before, and he's making a return visit to the UK at this time. And this gave us a wonderful opportunity for an update, knowing that the situation he faces in northeast India is one of great change and transition. Let me just first of all invite you to please subscribe to the Break the Silence podcast on whatever platform you wish to use. So welcome back to London, Archbishop Linus. It's great to see you again. You will recall that when you were last with us, it was the season, shall we say, of Red Wednesday. Red Wednesday, for you who don't know, is, of course, where Aid to the Church in Need shines a light on persecution. And the color red is the color liturgically of martyrdom. And you were here when we were marking Red Wednesday 2024, and you played a part in many of the activities that were organized in central London. What perhaps stands out to you from that time back in November?
Thank you, John, for the kind invitation at this moment, and also to of a happy recall last November when I participated in a Red Wednesday event. It was a great day for me, a new experience, and also quite a revealing experience to me, because you not only see, but you listen to many things happening in the world. And the ACN so interested in capturing what is happening in different parts of the world, and also giving concentrated efforts and attention to those persecuted as Christians, and also to give meaningful and relevant, timely intervention to humanitarian needs. And so when I participated in that event, I had a lot of lessons to learn, and also giving me encouragement and inspiration to participate in this kind of humanitarian action, and also even to promote one's own faith, live a strong faith, and believe in what you do is right.
Well, thank you for saying all of those things. One of the things that you did while you were here, of course, was to record a podcast. That was November 2024. Here we are in June of 2025. We wanted to start by taking our viewers back to the terrible events, the tragic events of May 2023, where Imphal, Manipur, fell victim to an upsurge in conflict, a sudden sparking of conflict, in fact. And that was covered in part in the last podcast. But I wondered if you could just quickly recap on that and its causes, and then to perhaps take us forward to how things have changed, if at all, since November, when we last heard what you had to say on the topic.
Yes, not to mention what really happened on that day, because now it is known to many parts of the world. It is open book to many. So what has happened now is we're trying to come back to the normal life, but there is a difficulty, obstacles to overcome, because the two communities, unfortunately, broke out in violence, and then sort of a separation took place, and displacement in huge number took place. Right now, what is happening is just last month of May, the second anniversary was observed. The Meitei community, the majority Meitei community, captioned it as a Remembrance Day. But a Remembrance Day of what? Of violence, of separations, of unfortunate human conflict, community conflict. it was called Remembrance Day. And the other community, the Kuki community, they termed it as Separation Day. So when we read this between the lines of these two captions, we are not very clear, and we feel still many things to be resolved because the separation has taken place. But in what? So it is a sort of a political or land or community. These things are not resolved as much. But violence is right now not happening because the buffer zone between the two warring communities, we have the armed forces lined up all over and preventing further conflicts. The beauty of the present state is the government and the central government is inviting all the warring groups to surrender their weapons, their arms, and come back to the proper solution, lasting solution. This is happening, and a lot of arms and ammunitions are also captured or surrendered. So this is one thing happening. And then after we last met this, the government, the state government has lost the popularity. So the chief minister of the state resigned, although the party, the BJP, the Bharat Janata Party had majority, but the leader resigned, and so there was a kind of a stay there. And then the central government had imposed the president's rule. So the direct rule was coming from the president at the center, while the state government is put, although the government is not dissolved, but is put in suspended animation. So this thing was going on, a negotiation, and both the center and all political leaders, social leaders, and all looking forward to a kind of a quick solution, unity and reunification, and putting back the whole community in a peaceful state. That's how it's going on now.
But we know that the challenge of bringing the community back together is made very difficult by the fact that there's still a lot of tension, I think, between the two, and that were it not for the presence of that buffer zone, there's every likelihood of a renewal of clashes.
Yes. So the leaders of both the communities plus other stakeholders, different communities, and church leaders and social leaders of different sections are all coming together to bring these communities to the table for negotiation and dialogue for peace and a lasting solution. This is a forthcoming, but it's a slow, not very sort of immediate solution we are not getting, but with much effort, we are trying to get it done.
And one thing that we didn't cover so much in the last podcast, and which perhaps we can draw out a bit more, is the response that the church, that your diocese has made in the midst of this terrible crisis. You have been very active, I believe.
Yes, the Catholic Diocese of Imphal has been always on the move, and it is reaching out to both the parties, especially the people. Still more than 60,000 people of displaced people are in relief camps, and some are living in rented houses, some are living in their relatives' houses. All are getting tired. So we have a continuous reach out program for these people and for all those who like to get their life settled and go back to, proper place of shelter or homes where where they lost their properties and home. They can all come back, but we try to settle them and work out with that. So relief camps with food and materials. And at this point of time, after 2 years, we're looking forward to livelihood and education of children and counseling, and women. The plight of women also is very despicable because the lack of hygiene, privacy, and also even the cases of prostitutions and all these to be settled. And along with that, drug menace, opium cultivations, and this and that.
So, poppy cultivation.
Yeah, it is going on. So the students who cannot continue their education, they drop out and they engage into this kind of menace, even in arms and ammunitions.
So 60,000 are still IDPs. They're still internally displaced. How many have actually gone back?
It's hard to say because quite many have been given a place by the government to who have made the houses, but they're not able to come back because they're not comfortable and they are uncertain of livelihoods. So maybe 10,000, more or less, that many number would have found places.
So 10,000 gone back, 60,000 still
around that.
And of course, there are many drivers of this tension, the conflict. There's ethnic issues, there are tribal issues, there's land issues. But when we spoke before, you talked about the impact that persecution of Christians has in all of this, and some of the comments that have been made have suggested that perhaps too much emphasis was placed on that aspect, the way in which Christian persecution played a prominent part in all of this. What would you say in response to that? Would you say that actually, the Christian persecution is such a key part of this, or is it just one of many factors?
As of now, as we read this whole event, the real kind of human suffering, human conflict that is happening is not directly addressed to the Christian persecution, I should say. It is one of the impacts, one of the branches of the conflict. And it is mostly of non-tribal community and tribal community. The non-tribal community is the Metis majority. Mm-hmm. And then the tribal community, minor group, is the Christian community. So when these two are at war and they are fighting on different levels, different reasons. Therefore, it is not directly Christians and non-Christians as such. So that has to be a little clear. But suffering is on both sides. But the suffering part is the Christian minority of the cookies, and then Christian, non-Christian majority of the Hindus and Sadamahism. So this is one of the perspectives that we can see.
But nonetheless, the number of churches that were targeted, of which you would have details as the bishop, far outnumbers the number of temples.
That's one thing that puzzled many of us, because many churches were burnt. Mm-hmm. And in the process, evacuation of the Christian minorities from the Metis group also happened. And the Christian community, Christian churches, prayer houses also were burnt. That is one of the impact, the first outburst of the violence that took place. But later on, that became a subsided narrative. And the Hindu communities who were living in the tribal Christian communities, their houses, their properties, and one or two temples were also destroyed, burned. And that was the impulsive moment of the violence that Benaro by the Mo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Even in this short conversation, we've been able to touch on a matter that is by its very nature complex. We can see that even trying to distill from the evidence the role that religion plays in driving this conflict is hard to establish exactly. But we also know that 2 years on, 60,000 still IDPs, the government is still working towards finding some longer-term solution. Would you describe the crisis there in your diocese as being intractable, or is there a solution just waiting to be acted on, and which sadly has not actually come to pass?
It is the political solution that is taking time. Mm-hmm. And what type of solution? Because it cannot just please two communities, mm-hmm. because there are other communities also involved. They also have a state claims of their independence, of their proportional justice and this, that. Actually, the whole thing is the demand for proportional justice. Mm-hmm. In this big plot of land or in this state, let us live in peace, but with proportionate justice. Mm-hmm. This justice is not met to the people in proportion to what they deserve as human rights, human dignity, or minority rights, or minority community. So this if this political solution is resolved, then the people will be able to live together once again.
Well, we must all hope and pray that that solution does come to pass. But in the meantime, Aid to the Church in Need, alongside a number of other organizations, both within India and outside, have been very active in supporting the work of the Church for the good of all. What message would you give to those who've supported the Church in India?
I am aware that many men and women of goodwill coming forward to help through the agency of the ASEAN International, trying to reach out to the people suffering and looking forward to a way out, giving generously their contribution and they share the sacrifices to this. And we are also a great beneficiary of the donations and of help that you have given through the ASEAN. And there are many areas of interventions that ASEAN has done. I will not be able to enumerate many of these, but substantially we also have received, and we are very grateful to the ASEAN community.
Yes, because it needs to be recognized that support from international organizations is a sensitive point for the Church in India. It puts the Church under pressure were details to emerge of that help. But suffice to say, we can assure you that the help that's been provided has had a meaningful impact on the lives of the community and has been part of the process towards a gradual healing of the tensions. What are the objectives, the prior needs going forward, would you say?
The land issues and then the following up of their human aspirations. So the livelihood, education and then even small communities, new communities have come up. We need to build schools for these children and sanitation, electrification, water supply, all these are a part of it. And also a church, a place of worship. All these are part and parcel, integrated needs of our people in the near future.
Well, thank you so much for that, Archbishop Linus. Thank you for watching and listening. If you don't already, please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for watching, and a huge thank you to Archbishop Linus for being willing to go through the grilling exercise a second time. So thank you, Your Grace.